Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and thank you for watching this video. So here's the deal. When you're unhappy with your job and you can't stand your boss, what's the most logical thing to do? To quit your job and go find another one. But for the Papin sisters, they decided to go a different route. They killed the wife and daughter of their employer. Yep. Today I bring you the story of the Papin sisters who went on a murder frenzy. Until this day, these two women still fascinate France. Want to know what happened? Did they deserve to die? So let's get started. But first, pardon my French you. The infamous Papin sisters were Christine and Léa Papin from Le Mans, France. Christine was born on March 8, 1905, and soon after she was born, she was given to a paternal aunt and uncle, and at the age of 7, she was sent to an orphanage. Christine was described as a hard worker, a good cook, insubordinate, and emotionally unpredictable. Léa Papin was born on September 15, 1911, and she was sent away to live with her maternal uncle. Léa was described as quiet, nervous, obedient, and less intelligent than Christine, and she also followed everything Christine said and did. Christine and Léa were born into a troubled family household. The mother Clemence was severely depressed, and the father Gustave was an alcoholic. Neither of them took care of the children. Christine and Léa had an older sister named Emilia. At the age of 9, Emilia was assaulted by her father, and her unfit mother assumed Emilia seduced her father, so she was sent away to a Catholic orphanage. In 1918, Emilia entered a convent and ended ties with her family and basically moved on. Wouldn't you too? Good for her. Even though Christine and Léa were given to other family members, they still spent some time with their parents, where they lived trauma after trauma that haunted them forever. Their household was infested with arguments, physical and verbal abuse, and also abuse, the one on the screen. Christine and Léa's parents eventually divorced. The mother was jealous of the attention the father was giving the girls. This attention wasn't the good kind. Christine and Léa's childhood was very abusive. Both of them eventually joined Emilia at the Catholic orphanage and stayed there until they could be employed. Christine actually wanted to become a nun, but their unfit mother wanted her to work instead. While staying at the convent, the girls trained duties of the household. They worked as maids and were good at it. One thing about the relationship of Christine and Léa is that they were very close. Close is a light word to describe it. They were fixated on always being together, and that also included working together. In 1926, Christine started working for her family as a live-in maid. She did a really good job, and because of this, Christine eventually convinced the madam of the house to hire Léa as a chambermaid. The Papin sisters were now working together, living together as live-in maids at the Lancelins family mansion. The family Lancelin was a couple and their youngest daughter. Reports stated initially the Papin sisters were well-fed, clothed, housed, and paid for their really good work. One thing was obvious. Christine was traumatized by her childhood, and the Lancelin family didn't know how to handle her being emotionally unstable. It also didn't help the fact that the Lancelin family treated the girls with indifference. They didn't care much for the girls. After all, they were the help. The husband actually never spoke to the girls. Tensions arise between the sisters and the family through the years. Being treated with indifference took a huge toll on the girls, especially Christine. And the wife also became more abusive and very critical of the girls' work. Then, on February 2nd, 1933, the Lancelin family was supposed to go to a dinner party. The wife and daughter went shopping and they weren't expected to return home. The Papin sisters went to pick up the family's iron at a repair shop. Thing is, the iron wasn't repaired at all. They plugged in the iron, which caused an electrical blowout. Because the Lancelins family wasn't supposed to get back to the house, the sisters decided they would fix it in the morning. But fate didn't work like that day. The wife and daughter of the Lancelin family return home to find a dark house with no light. After finding out, the wife attacked the girls, and at that moment, something was about to break, and the endgame became deadly, unfortunately, for the wife and daughter. Christine snapped, and Léa followed along. Christine smashed a heavy jug over the wife's head. The daughter tried to fight Christine, and Christine gouged her eyes out. Yes, you heard it right. She popped the daughter's eyes out. Léa then followed Christine's bidding, and she popped the wife's eyes out too. Mother and daughter couldn't see, they couldn't defend themselves, they were easy prey. Christine and Léa were hunting now. The Papin sisters beat up the women to death with hammers, knives, and kitchenware, and they stabbed them all over their bodies. After the attack, the girls went to bed, naked. The husband then returned home, and when he arrived, there were no lights, so he thought his wife and daughter had already left for the dinner party. But when he arrived there, they were absent, so he returned home. When he arrived, he couldn't open the door, so he went to get to the police for help. A policeman entered the house through a garden wall, and then he found the bodies of the wife and daughter, both of them unrecognizable. They thought the maids had suffered the same fate, but they found them in bed, together, naked, and they confessed immediately. Christine and Léa were arrested, they were separated, and while they waited for trial, Léa became quiet and reserved. Christine took this separation really bad. She became paranoid, depressed, and tried to gouge her own eyes out. During trial, there were several issues regarding mental illness that were brought up into the table. And I think it's obvious Christine had a psychotic breakdown. But still, both sisters were found guilty. Léa was sentenced to 10 years in prison. They came to this conclusion because they thought Léa followed Christine's orders. Christine was sentenced to death, but then commuted to life in prison. Léa left prison after 8 years due to good behavior. Christine became depressed in prison. She refused to eat because she wanted to be with Léa. She was transferred to a mental institution where she continued to starve herself until she died in 1937. Some speculated Léa and Christine had an incestuous relationship, which both denied.